Hello, everybody. This is Preston Poulter here with Pocket Jacks Comics. I have another YouTube channel where I now talk about big giant robots. So I'm having to remember, like, oh wait, I'm back on Pocket Jacks Comics. I gotta say that because I've been saying with Lords of Iron. But we only have one script this evening, so it should be fairly short. Speaking, oh, now, like, yeah, that's me. I don't need a message that I'm live. Of course I'm live. All right, but I did want to go over because this is helpful, and it might be helpful for John and whatnot, to look at some of the work product here from Jake for the Lords of Iron script, which we've all kind of gone over on the channel. So, like, let's look at some of the breakdowns. I figure, let's say, make these big, and then make that kind of big.
Oh, I wish I could see that.
Okay. Now I'm going to share screen.
Yay!
There we go. All right, so here we go. So this is what Jake submitted for page one. So I'm going to go ahead and read the script, and you tell me how he did. So page 1, panel 1. In space, over the dark side of Venus, a mirrored hemisphere illuminates the planets below with reflected sunlight. On the planet, large puffy white clouds hang in the skies over snow-covered alien landscape washed by blue, pack ice-filled ocean. So, I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah.
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 I think it's a great opening panel.
Yeah. And then I like how, we see the shape of the thing here, and then when we go to panel 2, we can now understand that we are looking at an artificial sun, because he's maintained that shape here in panels 2 and 3. Panel 2, we got a white fluffy gene-altered freak of a jackrabbit nibbles at vegetation just under a thick blanket of snow. What do you think, Larry?
I mean, it's a rabbit.
It is a rabbit, yes.
I don't know if the snow's really there or not, but yeah.
I think this All right.
That's the forest problem.
Yeah. Let's see. Panel 3, the Guinevere incarnation of the shapeshifter Trinity stands wearing a white fur coat like a dark fantasy snow queen. Lucifer, a drone, and Maximilian, a warrior, stand in attendance. So we have Queen, we have the other two, and then in distant background, the alien Arctic jackrabbit sits pensively on his hindquarters. I think I gave them a note that I wanted the rabbit to be a little farther. And then we got panel 4. A monstrous gene-altered freak of an Arctic owl swoops down and grabs the coat of the frightened rabbit. And he shows them in the background. I didn't call for that, but he did. He put them there.
Cool.
And, it's not bad.
I mean, then at least he's not breaking the 180 rule.
What's that mean?
When you turn the camera 180 degrees exactly, you lose any reference points. Visually.
Point. Yeah.
So we see them both, and we see them both from a reverse shot. That's shot reverse shot.
Yeah.
I was okay with the people in the background, which is why I didn't add a note.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was okay with it too.
Yeah. One of the things about the 180 rule is that in film, you don't want to ever shoot a room in more than 180 degrees.
Oh yeah.
So, you always want it to be, you'll always shoot from the same angle, even if you shift it. So if you see the one wall, if you see like one wall and two walls, the camera will always point at that one particular wall. They won't ever jump back and forth, usually.
Yeah. And I've seen some really bad films where people do, and it's really disorienting.
Yeah. You can get really...
Like, dude's on the couch, reverse shot. Dude's not on the couch, reverse shot. Dude's now, there's no couch. It's the same shot, though. And, like, what is happening? And you never have that visual reference to be like, oh, here's where I am in the space.
Yeah.
And hello, Steve. Thanks for joining. Always a big fan. And then panel 5, Guinevere Trinity reflects in red-faced disappointment. Oh, that one seemed okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's page 1. Here we go. Now we're going for page 2. All right, page 2. Oh wait, sorry. I don't want to share the script. Stop that. No, I
You've
want to
already
share.
shared the script.
Yes, I want to share the
Our
page.
viewer has already seen that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Steve.
All right, so here we go. So, panel 1.
Now I have a question. Is
Yes.
this considered penciled or is this just a sketch?
No,
this would be a
no,
layout.
no. This is the layout.
Yeah.
So this is neither?
It's layouts
Correct.
and thumbs.
Yeah, this is layouts and thumbnails. This is not penciled.
So for thumbs, you're looking at placement, you're looking at light and shade values, and you're looking at basic camera angles.
Mm-hmm.
As an editor, are the people in the right place? Is there room for the dialogue? Is it what the script is looking for? Does it flow like with the eye lines? Like that kind of thing. Because this gives you the basic composition of the page, but it's not actual. There's not anything anywhere near completed art.
Right.
Okay. Do you typically pay for this, or does he typically do
This
this?
is I don't. This is considered part of his page rate.
This
Okay.
is a
So I mean,
normal,
I
like-
pay for it in the way that it's part of his page rate. Is I guess what I'm saying. There.
Right,
Yeah,
but you
never
don't pay in
paid separately
advance
for
for it.
this.
Or, you
No.
don't,
Well,
or I mean, when he sends you this, you don't pay for this. You
All right,
pay
now keep
further
in mind.
along.
Keep in mind. I cannot define the standard for all indie comic books. But
I'm not
I'm
asking
just-
for that. I'm asking
Okay.
for. No,
Right.
my question is not how standard rates go. It's just how do you typically do it? What?
okay, yeah, I typically the penciler's job is to do the breakdowns,
Yeah.
and that is part of their page rate.
When I did Lunar Rise issue 1, Rob charged me like an extra $200 to do the layout for the entire book first, and then we did the page rate after that. So yeah,
I've never
Okay.
paid extra for layouts.
yeah,
If you can't sketch out your work before doing it, like I don't want to work with you.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
and that's the thing.
Wow.
Like here, Jake. Jake works on computer, so he's going to, or well, I say that he works on computer, but I am looking at artboards.
that looks like scans of artboards.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
all right, maybe it does, but still, it's kind of part of the. It's not wasted labor, is I guess what I'm saying. Like if they
Yeah.
were taking the script and you said just draw it, then they would have to go through this step anyway themselves.
well, it's a good thing to do because sometimes they're interpreting something in the script and you're like that's not what I meant. But anyway,
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I've worked with a few illustrators where I've had language barriers, and thumbs are often where you can catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is also where you're just like, oh, now I'm seeing it. Let's find a way to make the storytelling better.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm sure question's likely to show us a page in which that happens, or where we've given notes where that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So page 2, panel 1. Leaving the forest, Eric Trinity leads Lucifer and Maximilian towards a nearby driverless enclosed hover car parked along a stream. In the distance lies an Art Deco sci-fi cityscape covered in snow.
So here's an example, actually.
Okay.
So I very nearly gave a note to reverse this shot, to do forced perspective over the hover car, and to show them leaving the forest, because we never see it. They're in a forest. Then I remembered that actually the important part was the Art Deco cityscape, and didn't write that down. Like the lack of the forest is irrelevant. The cityscape really was the important visual here, so we're keeping it.
All right, panel 2. Here's panel 2. Lucifer assists Viviac's Trinity as she steps into the car. Maximilian keeps a respectful distance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of light and shadow stuff. Lucifer is in the foreground. He's going to be darker. Viviac's Trinity is still going to be the center of attention.
Panel 3. Snow falls from the cold gray sky as the air car flies them towards a distant commanding spire, standing tall amongst the Art Deco metropolis. Yeah, we don't have that at all. Eric Trinity's rear seat shows a high-tech array of displays and interfaces, and her head-mounted antenna assume a new position to interface and broadcast.
Yeah.
What do we think?
I think you missed
'Cause
something.
That's not what the script calls for, but
No.
I mean, it's just not bad.
It's not bad, but it looks like a repeat image.
With panel 4,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I mean, to a
it-
certain extent, it is. But I mean,
Yeah.
panel 4. Let's talk about panel 4. Trinity's resting form yields to no dominant personalities. Her perception slips into cyberspace. Her outward antenna plugged directly into ports in her vehicle, while the inner two act as radio antenna to process remote signals. Faint hints of the next panel begin to superimpose themselves on her reality. So that's panels 3 and 4. All right, what do we think? Danny, what do we think?
So I was comfortable with this because really
Okay.
the main action is going into Trinity's head
Right.
and pushing the camera in and then tilting the angle into that last panel did that effectively.
Mhm.
The cityscape would have created lines of action in the background that would have distracted from that, or you wouldn't have really seen it.
Okay.
One of the best ways in comics to show movement, unfortunately, because movement is actually really hard to show in comics,
Right.
is to show the same shot with something having changed.
Yeah.
So keeping the same shot and pushing in to show the detail of the antennas moving
Mhm.
is how we're going to is the only way we can really see that and make that really clear that there's movement there in your headpiece to the audience.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I really liked panel 5. I thought I did a good job here. In mind space, all 3 forms of Trinity stand as separate entities whose mental projections reflect a marriage of their older identities from the days of Guinevere in the Divinity Factory, but subtly updated to reflect their unholy union. Catrix, the collaborative intelligence of the V species created by Trinity, appears as a biomechanical pillar. Faint
Yeah.
shadows of Maximilian and Lucifer appear in the background, oblivious to the mental conversation around them. So I did give a note that I wanted to see the shadows of Maximilian and Lucifer. But I did like, you know, the script didn't call for it, but I did like we have Trinity and then we have the, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works.
It's an interesting way to do it.
I really loved this shot. It reminded me of reading Neuromancer in a good way.
Mhm.
And the way everyone's posed, they're in her head.
Mhm.
So this
Yeah.
was payoff and that justified having that push in on panels 3 and 4.
Right. All right, so that's page 2. Let's see. Let me pull up page 3. All right, page 3. Share screen. All right. This is this is revised from where it was before.
Oh, that is, yeah.
Yeah. Page 3. All right. In Mindspace, the Trinity Trio appear floating near the V warship. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
I will talk to her later. Let's see. All right. All right. In Mindspace, the Trinity Trio appear floating near the V warship Eviscerator. Time-lapse and speed lines show it flying stern first into the blackness of the void, using its thrusters to decelerate on the second half of its journey to Ceres. Catrix's face projects onto the hull as though it were the obelisk from prior panel. So he, and this was a note that I've given to Jay. Like every time he draws Catrix, he draws the pillar, and I was really trying to get him put the face on the shape where the other people were kind of hanging out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be careful about that.
Yeah, because he keeps making he keeps making Catrix the pillar, and that wasn't
And I see he didn't follow my note for panel 2.
right. Yeah, and
I think you agree with, right?
All right, so panel 2. Let's go ahead and look at panel 2. Yeah, and he's still got obelisk I don't want ship with obelisk. Guinevere rebukes Viviax while Eric attempts to mediate. In the background, Catrix watches from the perch of the nearby ship with amusement.
He's got
Alright.
2001: A Space Odyssey on his brain.
I don't
If
know.
only.
I kind of like it this way.
Well, that's kind of what the obelisk reminds me. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
anytime I see an obelisk in anything science fiction, I'm like,
Ah,
Yeah.
Space Odyssey.
all you have to do is make the obelisk shaped like a penis, and it fixes everything. So, there you go.
I mean,
has suggested
Yeah.
that everything's better with penises.
yes. Well, when I saw the obelisk, I'm like, looks like a thick penis. Love it.
That's why you follow Comicsgate people, right? Because they're all.
That's right. They're obsessed. All right. So
Well,
panels
I was thinking
one, panels
Geiger,
two.
but anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's clearly
Yeah.
what I'm trying to go for here.
Yeah.
So I've definitely got a comment about panel 2, but let's let everyone
Okay.
else go through.
Yeah. All right, Larry, John, what do we think?
I'm sorry.
Did you read panel 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What did it say? Because I didn't hear it.
No plugging for not silencing the phone.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. And hello, Dave. Good to see you. All right, so panel 2. All right, Danny, hit us. What do you think about panel 2? You got to know.
So I already gave this note to Jake, and it hasn't been actioned.
Right.
But changing the angle of the view of the spaceship makes it impossible to tell which direction it's traveling.
Right, yeah.
And so what I suggested Jake do is to have the spaceship be located in different quadrants of the bottom half of each of those panels. So it starts off further to the left and then ends further to the right.
Right.
So we can tell that it's moving in that direction against the thrusters. And the only way to do that is by having basically the same shot of the ship. Like the sort of like the opening shot of Star Wars, like when you're just sort of seeing it go forward, you need to have that still camera to show movement. And by twisting the camera around, you're just moving the camera around a ship, which could well be static in space, and you can't tell in the comic. And Preston has gone really hardcore into the science here, and I want that to show on the page.
All right. Panel 3. I got many notes on panel 3, but let's go ahead and read it. In the foreground, Guinevere stares into the distance where a mechanized smelting facility instilled into a massive blasted-out crater on the dwarf planet Ceres towers over the surface and into open space. Catrix manifests on the planetoid surface. One of the 3 docking ports on the facility secures a GAC-3 transport docked in a nose-in configuration attached to the station with a docking clamp and causeway. A maglev, short for magnetic levitation trench, wraps around the equator of Ceres. A cloud of planetoid fragments left over from the demolition and construction of the factory float in a loose orbit. Jets of blue-green hydrogen erupt from the maneuvering thrusters of an ore-carrying mining robot as it flies towards a lighting landing port installed in the installation.
That's wow.
What?
A lot of description.
Yeah, that is a lot of description.
We're not really seeing a lot of that.
Unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot. All right, so one, we're seeing something I didn't call for. I don't want the ship there.
No, you're too wide. I think you need to close in on the.
Well, he's still obsessed with the obelisk.
No,
the obelisk, and you said the obelisk is in the shot, so he put the obelisk on the ship, and that's in the shot.
Yeah, and I didn't say it. First off, I said Catrix should be manifesting as a face on the planetoid surface, and he's still got her here on the ship.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead, Larry.
so what I would do, I kind of like the changing angle. I get what you're saying about direction or whatever, but what I would do is take the what do you call it? Left half of panel 3, make that panel 2, and then go a little wider or a little closer up on the planetoid, so that you can actually see some of the detail you're describing. So yeah.
So he, all right, it makes sense to have a maglev trench around the center of the planet. Unfortunately, we now have the Death Star, which was not what I wanted.
You do.
This is not what I was going for.
And I think the trench might be a little bit too big.
Yeah, the trench is a little too big. You know, like
Yeah.
the planetoid is 500 miles in diameter. So looking at like that trench is like 20 miles wide. Like, no, it doesn't need to be
It
that
doesn't
wide.
need to be that big.
It's
no.
more like a gorge. Would it be like a
Yeah,
gorge?
it's a gorge. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be that big. And you know, like, look, in the Death Star, that is a weapon. So there's a specific reason why it's a parabolic dish.
Yes.
Here, I actually, I want it to be concave instead of convex, or convex instead of whatever. I want it to be kind of the opposite. Like, it would make sense that this thing was growing out of it.
Oh,
And so the note I gave to Danny was they use nukes to just blow, like, you know, a big chunk out of that planetoid, and then just imagine taking the refinery from the Nostromo. I don't know if you guys can visualize it, but I can
Yes.
show you a picture if you want to see it.
No,
But,
I
you
know
know,
what it looks like.
Okay, yeah, it's got these big towers, and it's got these kind of dome things at the bottom. Like,
Yeah.
imagine just putting that into the planet, in that hole in the planetoid, with the spire going towards the center, so that now coming out of the bottom, you have these kind of like little domed bottoms. So it should be protruding out as opposed to kind of concaving in. And
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
the note I
Well,
sent
wouldn't the
was
nuke
like,
create
think I
building
know what you
on
mean.
its core. And now we have a Death Star, and that just doesn't work either. This is a
Right.
situation where ideally I'd be able to get the illustrator out of the phone and just be like, dude.
I will send you an image later that I think might work for what you're going for.
okay.
Yeah.
And he also, and again, this is scale. He has the Yak 3 here, and it's a big tower. And I'm
So
like,
that's the Yak 3 on a tower.
yeah. Okay, yeah, so
Well,
it's the Yak. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
all
little
right, yeah,
tiny.
okay.
See, it just needs to go closer up. Like
The tower was much bigger, and that was a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That scale is basically fine.
Yeah.
That is not the issue with this. It's like, I don't think he understands like what sort of thing you're imagining,
Right.
and that's going to be easier to describe. Probably with voice,
Yeah.
or with some significant clarification in writing, and the hopes of not encountering a language barrier, which is the current struggle.
That tower is huge.
Yeah, the tower's and that's the other thing. If this is, again, is 500 miles in diameter, how tall is that tower?
At least
that's like 50 miles.
Oh no, actually, I would say it's more like 250 because it's close to the half of the radius.
Yeah.
So
it's way too big.
That's a big tower.
Yeah, it's too big. Too big. We'll get back to that.
So getting the camera closer in on the planet,
definitely.
as you suggested, Larry,
And
will actually
just
make
the
the tower
planet.
look big without making it look 250 miles tall.
Yeah. Just the planet. That's what you need.
Okay, so panel 3 definitely needs some work, and then
There's few tricks not appearing projected on anything again. Still,
yeah.
I see what he's doing though.
Yeah.
He's copy pasting. Yeah.
And then we go to 4. Catrix Trio now float in closer proximity to Ceres, where Catrix remains. All right, so that's what I call for.
Okay. Yeah.
And and the other thing is, all right, so now we go into a smelting tower, and this is the shape of the smelting tower is suggestive of the docking facility. So now if I'm the reader, I'm going to think that the smelting tower is right here.
Yeah.
And
that's what it looks like, honestly.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
No, it's
Actually, I think that might be what he drew, but
I think he might be under the impression that the smelting tower extends out into space, and it doesn't. So, as I told Danny in my notes, like, we need to totally flip the orientation on the thing. It needs to be going in. The Yak 3 should really just be this small little thing, docked here, with a small little clamp. But all right, so
hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah. Now let's go to panel 5. The Trinity Trio float within series where a mining robot dumps its payload into the top of a large cylindrical smelting tower made chiefly of tungsten alloys, upon which Catrix manifests. Within the tower, a spiral mixer agitates the loose damp ore, which glows orange as it melts.
So yeah, within is a difficult word.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'd already given a note about that. So
Yeah.
this is not action. They are inside the planet.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So yeah, they now. Yeah. So yes, we got. Yeah, we might have to voice chat with him. But yeah, this one's gonna need some work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Larry, what do you have to say?
Basically just what you've been saying. So
Okay.
you
fair
know,
enough.
like it needs work, but
Yeah,
that's why you do these things, right? So,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. So that's why we go through it.
Yeah.
And this is so much easier to fix than pencils.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm not super familiar with all the terms, so that's why I ask a lot of questions, because
That's
I don't
fine.
know what
Yeah.
certain things are called.
Yeah.
And so when I'm asking for one thing, I'm thinking I'm going to get something else,
Right.
and then when I get what I'm asking for, I'm confused because it's not what I thought I was asking for.
I understand. I mean, look,
that's where
there's no time like the first time.
exactly.
Yeah.
And hey, we're writers. Many indie comic writers are also producers and have
Right.
to do the editing and
Yeah.
the art direction. And knowing what you're getting from the illustrator and what to look for really helps. So I still feel like this is valuable, and it lets us extend the stream to about an hour, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
everybody wins.
Exactly.
That's the only reason. Yeah.
Oh, it's totally the only reason. But Preston gets to show off. Give the
I
man a
do.
break.
Yeah.
I've gone through breakdowns before, and I do think,
And I
part
think
of
it's
it,
actually helpful for a comic book and script stream. If we don't have as many scripts, yeah, we should do this kind of thing more often. It's
and I've got like a ton of stuff I can bring too. And
Yeah.
weirdly, even if you're doing like an actual screenplay, a smart move if you got the budget for it, and you should, because it solves a bunch of problems in the future, is just storyboard, and
Right.
that's what this is.
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I
It-
typically write in screenplay format because it's easier for me to just think in terms of action and story, and then I can focus on framing and paneling later. So I'll typically write in screenplay format and then convert. Anyway.
Yeah, but like if you were actually producing a film, you still want a storyboard to have an idea of what you're going to shoot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Then your script supervisor uses that and the script and the notes and whatnot to actually make sure that you're implementing the creative vision from start to finish. Right? These are useful tools for everybody further down in the process. Like even in a film.
All right, so panel 1, wide shot Catrix manifests on an enormous steel cauldron beneath the smelting tower, waiting to receive the payload, while the glowing
Obelisk is still there.
Yeah, obelisk is still there. It's obsessed with this damn obelisk.
It's an obelisk with a giant K on it.
Wow.
Yo, we found the Circle K, dudes.
We did, yeah. Well, the glowing hot valve at the base of the tower remains closed. The trio stand around the cauldron, the side of which bears the stamped block letters, temperature fraction 1850 Kelvin. Okay, so 1, he's got glowing heat, but it's the tower which should be hot, not the cauldron.
Well, he's still that's still the landing tower. That's
yes,
the
that's
same,
still the landing tower.
It's still the wrong tower.
Still the wrong tower, yeah. So, all right, yeah. So glowing heat. Yeah. All right. So this is not stamped on the cauldron. It needs to be stamped on the cauldron. Instead, it's this sign off to the side. I don't like sign off.
You should just redline this.
Yeah.
I don't have a pencil.
Okay.
I can use for that, unfortunately.
All right. But yeah,
redlining is hard, and I need to buy an Apple Pencil for that.
Yeah. Redlining would probably be the easiest thing. I'll probably do that.
Here's another important note for other producers. illustrators think visually and generally hate reading.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why John is 100% right every time he's like too wordy, too wordy, too wordy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why redlining is effective, because you're just like, no, do this, and
Right.
put this out, and you just have it there visually.
Right.
And they don't actually have to read your notes because illustrators hate reading.
Right. All right. Panel 2. We still got the obelisk. On the side of the cauldron, Catrix's face expresses surprise as the glowing valve from the bottom of the tower releases a torrent of lava to flow into the waiting iron receptacle. Jets of liquid water spray through the illusionary images of the trio as they continue to argue before the now steaming cauldron. I mean, outside of the obelisk, it seems okay. I feel like we're kind of doing all right here.
Yeah, this one's not my hill to die on.
Right. Page 3. The spray of water panel 3. The spray of water continues flying through the avatars as the steaming cauldron glows bright orange from the intense heat of the lava being poured into it. Catrix's manifest face shows shock. A pair of 3-pronged electromagnetic rods deploy from housings towards their resting place on either side of the cauldron. Yeah, my note was I don't see the 3, and then if we go to 4.
So I didn't care about the prongs because we've already got steam everywhere and quite a lot going on in this panel.
Yeah, that's fine.
My note was Catrix is the cauldron. Please draw that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Panel 4. The 3-pronged rods seat and activate on either side of the cauldron as the display reads magnetic field intensity 1. And here I want it to be a sign because that wouldn't be written on the cauldron. 1.52 Tesla as magnets activate. And yeah, let's see. While something of water continued, should be jets. I wrote haze. While jets of water continue to cool the now white-hot cauldron of iron as lava continues to pour. Catrix's face manifests on the cauldron, stands frozen in shock.
Well, we got a face this time.
We do have a face. My note was I wanted the body of the cauldron to be magnetized instead of the neck. So I wanted to be down.
I can't really tell what's supposed to be magnetized or not in that drawing.
Yeah, well, I did. He's got them up here, up top.
Yeah,
they're at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I see.
And then panel 5, the trio hover above the maglev trench along the equator of Ceres, which extends into the interior of the smelting facility, where Catrix's face remains manifested on the cauldron, which, let's see. Boy, someone needs to talk to the writer. This is bullshit. All right.
Man, the writer is so wordy, and
I know.
His direction is oddly complicated, but he's not providing any visual reference. Just like, man, sketch it out for the guy. Poor illustrator having to read the whole thing on his own.
There you go. Along the equator series, which extends in the interior of the smelting facility where Catrix's face remains manifested on the cauldron. Yeah. So that's where it should read. And, all right. Now, my note was, if I like having a maglev trench run around the equator, but it should not but now it seems like the smelting facility is also along the equator, and that's not where we showed it back in page 2. Which page? Now we're going to page 5. All right, let's take a look at page 5. All right, so it's flying along. Be careful what you ask. Very true. All right, let's see. All right, 1. The trio float above the maglev trenches. The cauldron accelerates along the track below. Catrix's face manifests on the cauldron like an excited kid on the roller coaster. He's still doing
The obelisk.
He's still doing the
Now,
obelisk.
The trench is the gorge that goes around the planet,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So was that properly identified that they're the same thing?
What do
Does
you mean?
he know? Does your artist realize that they're the same thing?
I can't tell you what my artist knows at this point. But
Okay.
I'm gonna
Because
I'm gonna try and make
we were talking about how wide he made in the wide shot,
yes.
he made it so wide, but obviously that trench is not that width.
Right.
Because here, that whatever size that cauldron is got to be what, a meter width at the most, diameter, right?
I'd say more like 4 or 5, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Not very many.
Yeah.
It's not, if you compare the actual circumference diameter of this planet
Right.
and that, they're not going to be the same.
Mhm.
It would make that cauldron humongous.
Right.
So
yes. And then panel 2. The trio hover above the elevated ramp, which lies at the exit of the trench where the cauldron flies at high speed off into space. Catrix screams in excited joy. I think, and my note here was that ramp was too steep for something to be approaching at particularly high speed. So that was my note there. And then page 3. The trio look off in the distant space as the cauldron flies at high velocity towards the distant Earth. And
Right,
and my
So,
note,
so not very distant.
yeah, the Earth is not very distant.
Oh,
So
man.
I will go ahead and show you here. Let's go ahead and show you. Should be a corrected page 5. Do I have a corrected page 5? Let me pull that up real quick, because he did change a few things, which I appreciate.
Oh, good. I was really worried that everything I wrote was a complete waste of time, but actually a lot of stuff was version wide.
Let's see.
A meeting will almost certainly solve all of this. If you can talk to your illustrator and you have difficult concepts, it is always worth it.
Yeah.
Or in film terms, this is why director is a job.
Yeah.
Right? And someone needs to be responsible for knowing what's supposed to happen.
All right, here we go. Here's corrected page 5. Or at least the new. Oh, wait, sorry. No. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
That is much better.
Yeah. All right. So now, So now we got the ramp isn't as severe. So that's cool. And now the Earth. The Earth is now very, very distant marble. I like that. Sounds good. Yeah. So panels 2, panels 3s.
So I got a sciencey question for you.
Go ahead.
What is the gravitational pull of Ceres?
It's 0.2 meters per second squared.
Okay, I have no idea what that is. So
Earth is 9.8 meters per second squared. All right. So as you stand on the surface of the Earth is accelerating against you at 9.8 meters per second squared.
It's pulling you in at that rate.
Yes, it's pulling you. Yes.
Question.
Yes. So if you jump off a building, the Earth will pull you down at 9.8 meters per second.
Right. So, and Ceres was, you said what, 2 something?
0.2.
Oh, 0.2. Okay, so it's like next to nothing.
Yes.
Okay, so that answers my question then.
Okay.
Because my question was going to be, how fast does this thing have to move in order to break Ceres' orbit? But if the gravitational pull is that low, I imagine it's not going to have to be all that fast.
Right. Yeah. This isn't about breaking the gravitational effects of Ceres. This is about getting your supplies to Earth in a timely fashion across a very vast distance.
Right. So it has to go fast enough that when it leaves the track, it'll basically continue on in space according to one of those laws of motion
Yes.
until it reaches Earth's
Until it reaches
gravitational
Earth.
pull.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of mecha projects, I just got a great shot from my illustrator of from the script I shared a couple months ago of the giant mech punching a spaceship.
There you go.
I'm not doing hard sci-fi though.
Yeah, hard sci-fi is hard.
So hard.
It's hard.
You have to know the science, and
Yeah,
a lot
well-
of times I just want to make things funny, or
I
not funny, but I want to
understand.
make things just entertaining and sexy. And I'm just like, yeah, just throw tits at it, and
Yeah, that gets you really far. Unfortunately, like, every time Preston does more research, it's like, okay, let's do the round of script edits. I did more research.
Yeah.
And it's great, and there's sensible, logical principles behind all this that are totally not explained in plain words to the reader, but the 3 science nerds who read this are going to love the shit out of it.
yeah,
And Preston is
they
going to be
will.
really happy.
There you
So,
go.
but I'm not on the marketing team for this, and probably rightly so.
I mean, if people want to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we'll just flit to the other side of the galaxy at warp factor, whatever," and I mean, those are things which will never happen. It's all just space fantasy, and
Now,
whatever.
what I did do is I convinced Preston to show his work,
Right.
and thus to write essays explaining the science to include either a supplemental material or something when he actually compiles everything for print.
Yeah,
And I definitely think no matter who the readers are, they're going to appreciate that.
that would be cool as like an ash can, like the science of whatever. Science of Lords of Iron.
I mean,
All right,
you
so-
know that work, you might as well put it to good use, right?
Yeah. Below them, 3 FP-27 duosodes float gracefully above the surface.
I cut those in a note.
Okay.
We're back to series. And
Yeah, we're back to series.
There was no point switching locations if we're not going to design Earth here.
Right.
So the suits didn't make any sense from a narrative perspective because the people with the suits aren't necessarily there.
Mhm.
And then the actual story for the humans is, well, we need to get here and protect it. And we spend a lot of time later on showing off the suits. So
Yeah.
let's let those teams do their job.
Right. So we have kind of cool docking clamp and Yak 3. This is almost not bad, although I still feel it's a little too big. But all right, let's go ahead and go to next page. Okay.
This is the big payoff they've all been waiting for.
Yeah, the big payoff. Here we go.
Now, for all this science, you
There we
get da-da-da-da-da-da.
There's
Yeah.
your boob shot, yeah. The stern visage of Eric Trinity, seated upon her biomechanical throne, projects sinister intent as her inner 2 razor-sharp antennae, which seem to stab the air while the outer 2 remain plugged into ports on the throne. Anyway, so there's the opening 6.
very cool.
And then, let's see, we got page 7. All right, let me go ahead and go with with Jake's corrected page 7. Hold on. Where is? I don't care about YouTube comment. Shipment, hooray! There we go. All right, let's see, share screen, boom. All right, so panel 1, let me zoom in a bit. Nikolai Baranov, the stern mid-30s station commander, stands at the head of the ready room inside the Yak-3 transport. On the display wall behind him, 3 separate bordered video feeds show the enemy heli and craft, the face of Admiral Hood, and the countdown to launch, T-minus 119 minutes. Seated in flight suits in the auditorium, listening to him, the other 14 members of the Legion include Lilia Danovich and Katya Urkov, who borrow their looks from the title character of the White Lily series, as well as Sergei Ivanovich, mid-20s, Russian, 170 centimeters tall. So, that looked okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think, Larry?
It looks pretty good.
Okay.
The ship kind of looks like the Normandy from Mass Effect, but other than that, it looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Page 2. Katya peers through the open doorway into Lilia's quarters to find her gathering a vodka bottle and shot glass off a wall-retractable metal table. Seemed all right.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Panel 3. Lilia stows her bottle and glass in a cabinet as Katya stands in the doorway, attempting to bridge the distance. What do we think?
It's a good way to showcase how the size of the room.
Yeah. Panel 4. Lilia slams the cabinet door and turns to Lilia, who remains in the doorway.
We edited the art direction.
Okay.
Kasia was just too static for this entire scene, so we moved her in to try and get close to Lily, which is what she's trying to do in the dialogue.
Fair enough. Okie doke. All right. Let's see. All right, let me get the updated page 8 because we had some notes and we got some corrections. Okay. All right, panel 1, top left. Lilia coldly walks towards Katya, who steps forward to embrace her. Panel 2, middle top. Lilia gives Katya a perfunctory hug. And then panel 3, top right, still hugging. Lilia pushes Katya back towards the doorway. And then bottom left, Lilia begins to close the door on Katya. Bottom center, Lilia slouches against the closed door in the low light of the cabin. Panel 6, bottom right, having slid down the door of her cabin after showing Katya out, Lilia looks at the burn on the outside of her left forearm. So those are those 6 panels. And then we got a series of traumatic flashback inset panels. So panel 7, small low light inset bordered at the panels of 1 and 2. The helmeted face of her armored personal suit frames Lilia's terrified face. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Panel 8, small inset flashback seated at the border of panels 2 and 3. The helmeted infrared overlay shows a Chinese nationalist ahead wearing different power armor with a red star on the shoulder approaching down a hallway. Panel 9, small inset between 4 and 5. Lilia flexes her armored fist as a sharp 1-meter metal sword wreathed in white-hot plasma extends from a housing in the forearm of the armor. Then panel 10, inset between 5 and 6. Lilia stands in the pitch-black hallway illuminated only by the light of the flaming short sword extending from her right forearm. Down the hallway, the space pirate's own flaming sword shows his intent.
This is so much better than the last time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Like how this is turning out. I wonder if Larry and John noticed the problems with this page, or the one obvious problem with this page.
The gutter.
Oh, got it in one. Yeah, the gutter's a huge problem here. Do you see it,
Yeah.
Larry?
Where the image crosses the gutter, you're going to lose some of that definition.
And those are two big moments between the characters and for Lily, and they're just being cut in half.
Yeah, and I showed that I was imagining these as like smaller, like showing the memories that Lilia that was intruding into Lilia's consciousness. I don't know. All right, what do we think?
I mean, I love it. Besides the gutter issue,
Okay.
the easiest way, well, you might lose some of the symmetry. Symmetry.
Mhm.
But if you can shift some of them, like them hugging, if it was
Yeah.
shifted to the right, so the
Right.
gutter goes down Katya's left shoulder,
Mhm.
you could probably get away with that. But then you're kind of cramping into that inset panel. So that inset panel might need to be moved, which would then not line up with your inset panels on the left if you're going for, evenly spaced lines. That's
My first thought for that is actually to follow exactly what you suggested. I'm probably going to get Preston on the phone, see what we can get away with. And then instead of redlining, which I still can't really do, I'm going to get myself into Photoshop and start cropping and moving things around until I find a layout that works and just send that back. Because all the panels,
that's one way to do it.
like all the panels are fine. It's how big they are or like how much of it there are and where they are to make that gutter in the middle not break everything.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, as the editor, it's my job to do that in consultation with the director, and that's Preston.
I wanted the panels to be a little smaller. I mean,
I think they could probably be like half the height, and we could still do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of room to move stuff around, or like
Right.
nestle a panel behind Lilia's butt, have something that's like slightly off center for the mech below that to like push that slouch over across the gutter.
I mean, if we want, we can even disrupt the symmetry and make them like scattered images.
Like some chaos interrupting on otherwise regular panel composition. Yeah, I think that could work because like the ruler work does a lot there, but it just doesn't work as a spread.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it will work. By the time we're done, it will work.
Okay.
And
all right, cool.
At least all the art direction is on point finally.
Yeah, there we go.
So this is still a step up over the last one.
Yeah. And then we got 9. Where is 9? Do we have a new 9? Here we go, new 9. Oh, sorry, that's new 10. Because it was a 2-page spread, 8 and 9. Yeah, 2-page spread, 8 and 9. All right, so here we go. 10 pages. Share screen, window, boom. All right, panel 1.
I am really happy with how this turned out.
Yeah. Lilia sits slumped against the closed door of her cabin, staring at the burn scar on the top left outside forearm. And that is the large main panel. So that's what we're seeing here. Panel 2. Shrouded in darkness, save for the plasma, the two armored figures approach each other in the corridor. Panel 3. The nationalist brings his sword in a broad arc for her head, which Lilia blocks with her armored left forearm as she lunges forward with her right arm-mounted weapon. Panel 4. Lilia's bayonet of doom glides through the protective visor of her enemy's helmet and impacts the young man directly in his terrified face. Panel 5, inset bottom right. Liv's bayonet scorches the pirate's face black as it melts through the faceplate and skull. Anyway, so there we go. All right, so who's going to do the notes on theories and all that, and draw all that crap out? All right, I guess I'm doing that. Downloads.
Wait, were you taking volunteers?
Oh, I was wondering if Danny was going to do.
Sorry, doing the notes on what now? On series?
Oh, like the gorge and then making it not look like the Death Star and K-Trace.
Oh yeah, look.
Yeah.
I'm not going to send notes without running them by you. You know that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you've probably already written that to me.
Yeah.
I just haven't opened any of those messages because I worked a 50-hour day today.
I understand. Hey, look, Tarsik is looking forward to buying it. So there we go.
Nice.
All right. Okay, we have Dragon Warrior. All right, tell us about Dragon Warrior.
All right, so we are gonna basically start on page 3.
Okay.
The only thing that we're keeping from last week is the children's storybook.
Right.
Because that is actually important to the whole arc thing. We're foreshadowing and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So basically, it's the same thing. So father is reading his daughter a children's story. Mm-hmm. He finishes the story. He gets up. He leaves her bedroom. This is not in a warehouse. It's now in their house. And then we start basically with him leaving his daughter, tucking her into bed.
All right, who gets to read what?
I'll narrate.
Okay.
Who do you guys remember who did what last time? I think Larry. I think you were Julia, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I was Shang.
You can, Preston. You can be Shang, and Danny. Why don't you do Jacob?
Okay.
And then who else? Preston, you can do Captain Hayward, and I don't know if there's any other speaking parts, but we'll get to them when we get to them.
Awesome. Okay.
You want to share the screen?
Oh yeah, I should probably do that.
Yeah, you might want to do that.
So I'm who am I? I'm Hayward and
yeah, you'll be Hayward and Shang.
Okay.
And then Larry will be Julia, and Danny will be Jacob, and then we'll figure out the rest as we go.
Right.
So, interior suburban home, living room night. The front door, bang, bang. Shang crosses the living room to the front door.
Who could it be at this hour?
The door falls. That's his only line, literally.
Okay. Yeah.
The door falls open. A dozen Klansmen in white hooded robes stand outside holding torches. Cut the black.
I love this so much more already.
There we go. Why you the clan? You're like a clan fetishist when they're on the screen. You're like, yes.
Well, I just finished reading Superman Smashes the Klan.
I was about to say Superman Smashes the Klan. Yeah. It's like punching Nazis, but even better.
No, it's not. But I'm saying that as someone who's Jewish.
Okay.
But it's almost.
I thought you're Canadian.
All right.
And
I'm joking. I'm messing with you, dude.
Okay.
All right,
cut to. Sorry, again, 15-hour workday today.
Yeah.
Cut to black. Interior, Los Angeles Police Department lobby day. Julia Sue, now 22, 155 centimeters, 45 kilograms, dressed in a 1930s policewoman's uniform, sits on a bench, a briefcase at her side. Another policewoman approaches. Danny, why don't you do the policewoman?
Miss Sue, Captain Hayward, we'll see you now.
Interior, Captain Hayward's office. Julia enters, removes her cap, stands at attention. Hayward glances up.
I'm Hayward, right?
You're Jacob. I think Preston was Hayward.
Yeah. I'm Hayward. Okay.
Yes.
You aren't much to look at.
I'm sorry, sir.
Report to Sergeant Langen Records and take that box with you, unless it's too heavy for you.
Julia kneels down, picking up the full file box off the floor. The box is too heavy for her at 15 kilograms, but she toughs it out.
By the way, 2 would require 2 O's.
Yeah, I always do that.
Also, John, is Preston rubbing off on you? You're giving your measures in.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good idea. It was a good idea. So yeah, I started changing how I'm doing that. I mean,
I explained that I'm always working with a foreign art team. So,
and so am I. So
yeah.
like,
why am I going to be the asshole and make them do the Google search to go, well, what is that in my, So I'm like, I'll just write it for them,
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Did Julia say her line?
Hmm. Yes,
Julie being Larry, right?
Yeah.
Larry.
I did say it. Not a problem, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait.
Hayward scoffs under his breath and waves Julia out of his office. Outside Hayward's office, Julia leans a corner of the box on the policewoman's desk to catch her breath.
Where is records?
Who's
Down
police?
the hall. Take the elevator all the way down. Can't miss it.
Thanks.
Julia takes a breath, heaves the box off the desk.
Do you need some help with that?
No, thank you.
Interior, Los Angeles Police Department, records. Julia slides open the elevator gate, pokes her head in. The records room is a maze of filing cabinets. Julia picks up the heavy box and navigates the maze. Finding the center, there's a table with several other file boxes on it, under and stacked all around. Julia drops the box she's carrying on the table, taking a breath. She rubs her sore shoulders. Hey, who left the elevator gate open? Julia races back through the maze. At the elevator, Julia exits the maze just as Sergeant Jacob Lang, late 30s, closes the gate.
Who's Jake?
It's closed.
The electronics whirl as the elevator rises. Jacob turns around, finding Julia breathing heavy.
Sergeant Lang?
Call me Jacob.
He puts his hand out. She shakes it.
Welcome to records.
Thank you.
At the record center, Jacob and Julia return to the center. Jacob notices the new box, opens the lid, and examines the contents.
Captain Hayward asked me to bring that down.
Jacob grabs the box, putting it off to the side with a stack of other boxes.
When cases come down here, they're considered closed. They're solved cases, they go over there. Unsolved, go over there.
They close unsolved cases?
The Los Angeles population has more than doubled in the last 10 years. 90% of solved cases are within the first 10 days. You know what percent of cases are solved after 10 days?
10%?
2%. With that caseload, unless something major happens or someone important is involved, they come down here.
How long have you been working records?
5 years?
You must be up for a promotion then.
Jacob ignores the comment.
Damn right he does.
That's right.
The logbooks are this way. We review the cases, enter them on the logs, then record what row and drawer they are filed in. That's it.
Sounds easy.
Time pass montage. Jacob and shows Julia around the records room. They go through a file case. Jacob points out key points of information to record in the logbook. Julia places the case file into a filing cabinet. Jacob turns off the light hanging over the center table. At the elevator, Jacob and Julia stand by the elevator waiting.
I'll see you at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
6 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
8 a.m.
Whatever.
Interior Julia's apartment. Julia, dressed in a white silk slip and panties, stands by a window overlooking 1930s Los Angeles. Preston, why don't you do Julia's mom?
How's life in the big city?
It's awesome. There are so many people.
Wait. Mandarin.
Yes. Subtitled. Yeah. I don't know what the Mandarin word for awesome is, so it's awesome. There are so many people, so many places to go, and the food. I could travel the world without ever leaving this city.
I don't know what it means to be filtered, but... So tell me about the job. Is it everything you hoped for?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna like it. My boss seems really nice.
Oh, is he single?
Mom.
Filtered is a sound effect. It's basically the way the voice sounds when it comes through the phone.
Oh, okay, got
It's how I've heard. It's how I've seen it in screenplays when they
Okay.
just say that it's the voice coming through a phone or through some kind of a speaker. They just say that.
Yeah.
Exterior Los Angeles overlook night. The city lights look like stars dotting the landscape. A 1938 Chrysler Imperial sits parked on the overlook, windows fogged up. Inside, Alexei pins his girlfriend, Marie, against the back seat. Her bare legs wrap around his bare hips. As Alexei grips his hands around her neck, Marie scratches his back with her nails, drawing blood. They are not fighting. They enjoy this. Alexei releasing one of his hands. Alexei grabs a bottle of beer, leaning back, taking a swig. Who wants to? Somebody do Marie.
Don't stop.
Alexei attempts to put the bottle down, but it slips from his hand, falling to the floor, spilling out. Alexei puts both hands against her neck again. He grunts, grinding hard. Marie grips his sides, nails cutting, scratching flesh. Alexei grunts harder, harder. Marie's eyes go dim. Alexei, too drunk to notice, continues until he finishes. He lets go of her. His muscles relax. He breathes deeply. Alexei gets off Marie, picking up the fallen beer bottle and taking the remaining unspilled sips. Taking another beer from the cooler, he offers it to Marie. Marie falls across the rear bunch. Alexei stares at her. Somebody do Alexei.
Marie, you want one?
Alexei nudges her. It takes him too long to realize. His eyes go wide. White flash cut, exterior Chinatown day. White flash fades, revealing a police photographer stands over Marie, naked, bruised, very dead, splayed out on the asphalt. Oh yeah, so Johnson
That's a
and
great smash cut, by the way.
Thank you.
Who's Johnson?
So you guys, somebody be Johnson and somebody be Clive. They're going to have some dialogue back and forth. So Detective Paul Johnson, late 30s, and William Clive, 20s, 30s, walks down the alley.
Shit.
Johnson kneels down beside the body, examining.
Johnson again.
Bill, call Captain Hayward. Tell him we found his daughter.
Clive heads back to the police car.
She wasn't killed here. Someone dumped the body.
Johnson stands, waves to the officer who covers her with a sheet. He looks past Clive as a crowd gathers across the street. Clive stands by the police car, talking on the car radio as Johnson exits the alley.
Am I Clive?
Anybody can be.
Sure.
Yes, sir. We're on it, sir. Yes, we're taking her in now, sir.
Johnson lights up a cigarette. Clive hangs up the phone. Johnson stares at the Chinese pedestrian standing across the street, staring at them.
Let's interview the witnesses, shall we?
Johnson throws a cigarette in the street, crossing. Clive follows. Johnson shows his badge.
Detective.
And you
Oh,
speak
sorry.
English? Oh, sorry, Detective Paul Johnson. Want to see what happened to the young woman across the street?
The pedestrians exchange glances, speak Mandarin to themselves.
Did any of y'all speak English?
They chatter more in Mandarin. Johnson steps forward. They all back up.
Shit. Let's go.
Clive walks past him, getting in their face.
Clive?
Did anyone see who dumped the body?
Bill, they're useless. We gotta meet the captain of the morgue.
As they head back to the police car, the officers place Marie's body into the body wagon and drive off. Johnson follows behind them. Interior Los Angeles Police Department records. Jacob opens the elevator gate. Stepping off, he notices the lights are on. At the records center, Jacob enters the records center. Julia stands over the table, cleared off except for one case file. Its contents spread over the table.
What are you doing?
Good morning.
Julia hurriedly piles the papers back into the file.
I wanted to get a head start on the day. Oh, I made coffee.
Once the papers are back in the folder, Julia walks over to the coffee pot.
This is your first job, huh?
Cream or sugar?
2 sugars.
Julia smiles, hands him the cup of coffee.
You may find some of these an interesting read, but you'll find out soon enough we don't have that kind of time.
I know. I'm sorry.
Jacobs picks up the case file.
By the way, hold on, I'm going to do a little customer service. Yes, the mailman has already taken it. I hope you enjoy both White Widow 4 and 5. I threw in a couple of my own comics because I like the idea that people might actually buy some of my comics someday. But enjoy White Widow. She's a sexy superhero. Anyway.
Ooh.
No worries.
Yeah.
This one's from 15 years ago.
I like to start at the beginning.
Jacobs opens the case file, skims it.
You dug this one up specifically. Well, what's your interest in it?
I just wanted to know why the race killing of a Chinese immigrant couldn't warrant an arrest.
Jacob sighs. He puts the papers back in the file.
I'm sorry for your loss, but this isn't the time for the place.
I know. I'm sorry.
Jacob hands the file back to her.
Let's get to work.
Julia takes the file, disappears into the file maze. The elevator whirls. A few seconds later, Johnson and Clive walk into the center of the records maze. Johnson and Jacob stare daggers at each other. They have history.
Hello, Paul.
Who's Johnson?
I think Danny was Johnson. Can you do
Oh.
double duty?
How's my old partner? Never better.
Julia returns to the center.
Ah, there she is. Just the person I was looking for.
Excuse me.
We need your help on a case. Captain Hayward's orders.
Yeah, sure.
Don't worry. I'm sure this one will come back to you in one piece.
Clive and Julia head into the maze. Johnson leans into Jacob, smirking.
Probably can't say the same thing for Hyman, though.
Johnson laughs at his own joke before heading through the maze. At the elevator, Johnson catches up with Julia and Clive.
You two used to be partners.
Yeah. Till he got himself shot. Demoted.
The elevator lands. Clive opens the gate. They get in. At the record center, Jacob takes several deep breaths, trying to hold back his rage.
Don't get toe attached to that one. The women around him tend to drop dead.
I'm looking for a cough drop here because I had a tickle in my throat. But there we
I
go.
think that's the end of 10 pages.
That is the end of 10 pages. All right. Well,
There's a story.
yeah, there's a story. I'm not sure who the main character is.
Oh,
You're having mic issues now too.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
gotta love it.
I said I didn't know.
You want to let somebody else go and you take care of business?
Sure. I mean, what I said was I don't know who the main character is.
Weirdly, I feel like I do, and it's Julia, and there's
Is
a
it?
solid through line. Yeah, she's investigating the murder from the beginning, from her dad, who read her the story about the Dragon Warrior.
Oh.
There's another murder involved where, like, the guy who probably killed her dad is now, like, the CEO on the case. Yeah, there's a single story. High five, John.
There we go.
So much better. Sorry,
Okay.
unless I got this horribly wrong. But point
No, Danny, you are right on the money.
Okay.
Yeah, either I fucked up and you fucked up because of that, or you did really, really great work narrowing it down to a single story and a single through
Yeah.
line.
Now, how is Julia connected to the murder?
It was her dad.
Oh,
No.
never mind. Okay, there we go. All right.
The
That was
Oh,
like 15 years ago, reading the Dragon Warrior story. Then he
Yeah,
goes
but-
downstairs in his house, John mentioned. It's not a warehouse anymore, it's their home.
Okay.
Planning to kill him.
How come I don't see Julia like really sad about the death of her dad?
Because she became a cop and is now investigating it?
It's 15 years later.
Oh.
Yeah.
what
Well, you
about-
still could have. I mean, you could have shown me like small Julia unhappy, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. I
John's like flexing his smash cut muscles for this one, though. I'm not sure.
Okay. Look, anytime you have an opportunity to give me an emotional hook like a a little girl screaming about her dead father, I feel like you need to show me that. But okay,
I'm not Molby, but no,
all right.
Wow, wow. No,
All right,
I'm
but
totally behind
yeah, I mean,
snapshots. Like, I know, Preston, that you love seeing people's faces in pain.
yes,
And
it's,
there's nothing wrong
it's
with
That
my
that.
must be
fetish.
it,
It's my
yeah.
fetish.
You
All right,
like
what do you
That
want?
must
that
be it.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
penises.
Yes,
And also tits.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, but everyone loves tits, so that doesn't
There
count.
you go.
Yeah, you
Who
went
doesn't
to
love the faces of people in pain? I don't know.
Right.
but like,
well,
I'm
what about
actually
Alexi
behind,
and
like,
Marie? They were not exactly in pain, but you know.
Well,
No,
sure,
just kidding.
but yeah, and all right. So
I'm really behind thematic editing and the storytelling, and like,
okay,
given that John set us up with they're in the house and he's reading to Julia,
hmm
Dad KKK cut back to Julia 15 years later still works,
hmm
and also like gets you into what's ultimately going to be a hopefully an interesting procedural as Julia deals with this bullshit. So yeah, I know I know where I expect the story to go. I know roughly what's going to happen at the end.
hmm
And I can't wait to see how it gets there. Which these are all excellent things to say about any mystery.
yeah. I mean, look, Bad Mojo's. Come on, you can show me some blood on the little girl's hand. Think of all the emotional triggers where you can set me up. You can show me wrongness, and now I, as an audience member, can go. Something needs to be done about that. You know,
Did you not notice the KKK hoods? I mean, I know it's modern America, but
right? I
quick and dirty for any
Yeah.
of those awful Comicsgate listeners out there, Nazis are bad.
Okay.
Klansmen are also bad. They're intrinsically bad, and you don't have to justify their badness by showing how bad they are, because they are bad by definition. Nazis are bad, and it's always good to kill them.
Well, okay, but then we got. I mean, then you just got like generic bad guys who are bad by definition and just being mowed down, and I feel like you lose. You lose a lot of involvement in your story.
So I would agree with that, except
Mhm.
one of the good things about a KKK story like this is you can always find out who was under the hood.
Right.
It was Old Man Smithers all along.
Did you not set that up, John? Jesus Christ.
No, I did set that up.
Right.
There was.
You just realized that you set that up, didn't you?
No, that was the whole plan.
Yeah, your tone of voice betrays your surprise.
Okay.
All right, Larry, what do you think?
No, I know exactly who the people are under the hood.
Okay.
The audience does not yet.
Fair enough.
Cool.
I know
what do
who
you
they
think?
are.
We got some crime stuff going on, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
right.
I need to know more. So,
I think you had Danny at KKK hoods.
yeah.
No,
I'd like to know how the murder of this other girl kind of ties into the story, because it seems like she dropped dead from having sex, and that's very confusing.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
It wasn't
Okay.
auto, someone else did it.
But how does that?
Well,
that was just erotic
Good point.
asphyxiation.
Yeah, that's just
Erotic
that's just
asphyxiation.
regular old erotic asphyxiation.
Okay, but how does that tie into the story with Julia and her dead father with the KKK?
That's a good
So
question.
Julia is the Chinaman who has to translate and get back into the Chinatown stuff she's been trying to avoid. Obviously, since her dad died, because she's trying to be white, and joining the police because that ties in with John's insistence that the police, constant narrative insistence the police are merely another gang.
And
but at the same time, like, the other Chinese guy is also working in records, not really able to work real cases.
Okay.
Jacob Lang is not Chinese.
Oh, right. Okay. Oops.
All right.
Wasn't he last time?
No.
And
last time he was a detective. Now he's a demoted detective.
And I got the feeling the story was taking place in like the
1930s, yeah.
30s or 40s, yeah. So
we're okay with that.
Yeah, so that is era appropriate.
Although I don't know how many police women there were, but
they're actually No, I actually researched that. Los Angeles was one of the first police departments to allow women. It started in the mid to late 20s. Okay. And they typically worked as secretaries and social workers. That
Okay,
was
that's
like
cool.
their first. That was their first jobs. So for a policewoman to basically work as a records clerk and then a translator would not have been uncommon for 1930s.
That makes sense.
It seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a story. Yeah.
Preston, I think you might like the next 10 pages a little bit better.
Okay.
I just going to say I think you'll like the next 10 a little bit better.
Awesome. Looking forward to
But
it.
yeah. But I'm glad I at least got one fan, so thank you, Danny.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's clearly
I
better.
don't know about
Yeah,
fan, but like
yeah.
all the parts are clearly the same story. That was not the case last time.
Right. I will agree with that because last time I was basically launching 2 stories at the same time. One was obvious and one was subtle. In this one, I'm launching 2 stories that are both obviously 2 separate storylines, one major, one minor.
And yeah, like again, this is obviously a procedural, right? So eventually they're going to come together. The solution to one will relate to the solution to the other.
Yes.
You know where it's
Yes.
going to go, and that's
Right.
actually really nice when you're reading something like this. Procedurals are comforting generally in this respect, not because you know what it's going to do specifically. Procedurals are about how it happens, not what happens. It's a crime story. The bad guys are going to get caught at the end. Obviously. No one cares whether or not the bad guys will get caught. They care about, like, what's the emotional arc that brings you there? How intricately are these tied together? Is it an interesting death that people are investigating? And you've got all of those things set up. And possibly a literal dragon warrior, which I can't fucking wait to see.
There you go. All right. I mean, you sound like a fan.
I'm giving praise where it's due. I mean,
there you go. Okay. Fair enough.
Most times when something is working, like that has to matter too.
All right.
And I come into this hoping to be entertained, and especially compared to last time, which was tedious and confusing.
Right.
I felt none of those things, and instead I was like, "This is a story that is going to be okay." So why wouldn't I say so?
I think it's great. So there you go. I think we're all looking forward to the next 10 pages. How's that?
I think you'll really like them. So
okay.
If you want Preston to be happy, you need people crying over dicks.
There you go. All right. Any constructives?
There's a lot of monologuing, or sort of continues as people sort of talk at themselves, which is a bit vexing and not necessary when you have multiple characters in a scene. The Alexi stuff was really good. In fact, it's so compelling of a hook that it might overwhelm the Dragon Warrior thing, which might actually be a problem. Like, the Dragon Warrior thing is really abstract, and Alexi accidentally kills his girlfriend is really cool.
Did you give me a shot of Alexi freaking out over his dead girlfriend?
Not really.
He gave me a shot of Alexi noticing that she's dead, and then cut to dump the body.
You can't even give me, oh my God, she's dead. I mean, why do you cut all the emotional scenes out of your goddamn scripts?
Over in the back seat. She got her own shot of being obviously dead.
Show me I'm just gonna say, I will like your stories better if you show me people experiencing emotion.
Preston, you're gonna see it when Julia is inevitably betrayed by her current boss.
You had a chance to show Alexi freaking out over having accidentally killed this crazy woman he enjoyed having crazy sex with. Those are 2 emotional beats you could have given me, but you didn't. I'm just saying. Fine, whatever.
I will look at that scene again.
I feel
he's-
like you're uncomfortable having people emoting on screen. You're like, no, I'm not going to show that. We're gonna
He's
cut
supposed to
away.
be
And
drunk and coked out of his mind.
that you could still freak out. In fact, you could freak out even worse.
John,
Yes.
I'm behind all of those smash cut decisions, and don't let Preston sway you away from it. Make the story about Julia, not any of these other fools.
Anyway,
Well, the story really is about Julia, but
I'm just telling you what I want to see. I want to see people experiencing emotions.
It's going to be Julia, and it's going to be very dramatic. I hope.
Okay, all right.
That's my, I guess, educated guess here.
We'll see.
Prediction. That's the prediction. That's my
Yeah.
prediction.
All right, we're gonna have more pages next week. You think?
yeah, I already got like the next 15 or 20 pages of this version written. So, yeah.
All right, and the Bad Mojo seems like he's already interested. Is it going to be a graphic novel?
Yes, this will be. I am thinking that if all goes well, I might do issue 1 during
Okay.
Lunar New Year. I
I
think
don't
that
know when
might
that
be
is.
February.
Oh,
I think
There
if
you
all
go.
goes well, you should write it out to 150 pages and sell it as a screenplay.
all right.
Well, it will be a screenplay, but nobody looks at beginner screenwriters.
Right.
That-
Yeah, there's that.
That's why Preston and I got into comics.
Exactly. That's why we're here. Yeah. Why would you take a perfectly good comic idea and make it into a screenplay? It's bad. Then no one will read it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, we want people to read our story.
Right. And I think, I posted in my Discord, link in the description, a story of a screenwriter who, had made the transition to comics. And, he was talking about how when he actually made a comic book, now people were more interested in the idea as opposed to screenplay form. And it's probably easier to get an agent, too, if you can go like, look at these big, pretty picture books I make. I haven't
Yeah.
tried that, but I understand it. It makes it easy.
That is my middle term plan, actually.
Yeah.
And get more books finished and start doing that.
There we are.
Right now, Hollywood does not buy screenplays.
Right.
They will buy ideas. If
Mhm.
they like your script, they'll pay you, and then they'll give it to one of their studio writers to basically rewrite it. And it will become a bastardized version that nobody will ever recognize or associate with your work. That's typically the way things happen in the current Hollywood market. So if you want any kind of control, if you want to actually have some kind of hand on your IP, it's good to establish the IP in its own right. And I think doing it through comics and building an audience will help. And
There you
if you own the IP and the IP has history, then when the Hollywood studio comes knocking and they want your story rather than you going to them, you can say, yeah, well, you can have it, but I have conditions.
Mhm.
And then you can start saying, I'm writing the screenplay, I'm co-producing or executive producing this script, and you can flex some creative control over the final product. Or at least that would be the hope.
Or take a big payday, either way.
There
You
go.
could totally take the big payday and walk away. I mean, yes, you would absolutely. A beginner screenwriter would get $20,000 to $50,000, and that's basically just here's your payday. We own 100% of the IP. Go away and never talk to us again.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then they go and they make their, $100 million movie off of your $50,000 screenplay. But if you have a comic book that has fans and you've made $50,000 to $100,000 off of a comic book, well, now $50,000 on a screenplay rights. Well, that's nothing if you don't get to keep your IP, because now you're talking about something that actually has value.
Right. Then you're negotiating for points and lots of exciting things like that.
And
Exactly.
it really comes down to what it is you want. Like, if you just want a big payday, then you can say, well, hey, this is a $100,000 comic IP. I want $250,000 for the movie rights, and then you can do that. Or if your idea is, hey, I want to actually make this movie. I want to be on set. I want to pick who's going to direct it. I want to pick who's going to be acting in it or whatever, you know, I want, when the sequel is made, I want to be involved in the sequel. Well, then you got negotiation rights.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's smart.
there's a lot.
And this is a good graphic novel type project to do for that. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I kind of look at it, and Preston and I, we had this conversation with someone who's no longer with us, who was all about the high art of comics.
Mhm.
And in the conversation, we basically said our comics books are basically screenplay pitches that we're making money off of.
Yep. And it's interesting you mentioned him because I was talking briefly in Mike Miller's Discord, and the topic of, Seven's not here anymore. I'm kind of glad. Everywhere he goes.
I wasn't going to mention his name out of but that's just me.
Yeah.
But it that's basically the way. That's kind of what it is. It's like this graphic novel is a screenplay pitch that we're going to make money on until we sell it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how. And if it doesn't sell, who cares?
Exactly.
We had fun making it. We
Yeah.
made some money off of it.
It has a lot greater chance of being discovered someday as a product that exists in the world than as a screenplay that's sitting on your shelf. So.
Right,
I
because
agree.
nobody reads screenplays. Literally, I've been writing screenplays since I was 14 years old.
Mhm.
I used to go to the library. I don't know if you know what a library is, but back when I was a kid, there were these buildings that you had books in them. And anyway, so they used to publish. They don't anymore because now you can get this stuff online. Not that it does any good because they never answer. But basically, they used to publish these books of studio contacts and where you can submit your scripts to. And they were published in books, and they were usually in the library, like in the reference section. And I was 15, 16, 17 years old with my screenplays, going to the library, getting these books, printing out printed copies of my screenplays, and mailing them to these people. Never once heard for anything. And then it went digital, and I started doing it digitally. Never heard anything.
Yeah.
That was a good. Well, I'm a lot older now, so as I said, I've been pitching for a long time and never got anywhere. And yet, there's hack writers that out there that happen to know the right person, and they're selling stuff. So, but anyway,
All right. Next week we'll have more Dragon Warrior pages.
Yep.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, tune in then. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
all right.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody.